All right. What is up, y'all? Will here with Schedulefly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast, brought to you for 15 years now by us here at Schedulefly and over 600 episodes, which is just amazing. We just hit 600. So Schedulefly is super simple web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service. And I mean, like, my personal cell phone is on that website, schedulefly.com, in like 3 places. I'm your guy. If you need anything, call me or text me. I'm happy to talk to you about Schedulefly. And also, we hung our shingle on the internet May 1st, 2007. We have never raised our prices. I'm not saying we never will, but in 18 years, we haven't. So that's a pretty good little track record. So what we have to offer is simple software, great customer service, low price point. If you are on pencil and paper or Excel or you don't have a scheduling software, let's say, we love a chance to earn your business. We have a 30-day free trial. We will make life easier for you and your team. We will help you plan efficient schedules, dial in your labor, and just keep everybody on the same page. So if you got scheduling and communication and labor cost headaches, we have some aspirin for you. If you're on a competitive software, you may be super happy. If you are and you like what you're paying for, stay where you are. Sometimes you may be paying a lot more for a lot of bells and whistles that you don't need. And if you just need an easy way to schedule and communicate with your staff, again, 30-day free trial, monthly subscription software, and my personal cell is right there on the website. Call me, text me, whatever you need. You're going to get me on this flip phone right here. That's how I operate. And I am happy to talk to you anytime. So that's Schedulefly. Now, this is Restaurant Owners Uncorked. And I am very happy to have another opportunity to speak to a guy that we have had a relationship with for a long time at Schedulefly, who has taken time out of his day to share his story today. So, Pat, take a minute and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate it. Pat Fowler, restaurant owner in Chicago area. Started out in the business about 15 years ago. Long-time Schedulefly customer, and happy to be here. Talk about my story and whatever else comes up.
Awesome, dude. Well, listen, I said I wanted to wait till we started recording for you to tell me this, because you said that, I invited you to come on and you had not, I guess, you had not listened to our podcast previous, but since then you have. So, what do you think?
I think it's cool. I think the industry it's really tough right now. And what I was finding while I was listening to the podcast was a little more inspiration. People being really passionate about why they're in the business and what drives them. And I think that's really important right now. Cause there's a lot flying at restaurant people right now, and to hear other people talking about it that are in the same shoes as you, it's motivating. It was really enjoyable.
Man, I'll be honest, that gives me chills. We've done this podcast for a really long time, and I love doing it, and I'll never get tired of doing it. Because I have profound respect for you and your peers that own and run restaurants. It is a hard, hard thing to do. It has plenty of rewards that come with it, but you better be wired to do this. Otherwise, this industry will eat you up and spit you out. And we felt like, dude, we modeled our business after you and your peers, because we said, okay, what do the best restaurants do? What's like the foundation of a great restaurant? Number one, they have a dialed in menu and a product or a set of products that they are locked in on. And like the best restaurants have this great menu, and every item on there is really intentional and really thoughtful, and they get it right every day. But like, just they're really focused on the product, right? And just executing on that product. Okay, so why don't we do the same with our product? And then great restaurants have they provide a great experience. The customer service is there. The interaction is thoughtful and intentional and real and authentic and genuine. And it makes you just feel good. Like that was a good experience. I want more of that. So we said, okay, let's do that. How we serve our customers. And then the last thing is I always look at restaurants as like almost like first responders because you guys are so dialed into your communities. And every time there's like, whether it's a charity event or there's a natural disaster or whatever, like restaurants are always showing up and they're giving time, food, money, energy. They care a lot about their communities. And we thought, well, we care about what is our community? Our community is restaurants and they're everywhere. So we don't have like, just because we're here in North Carolina, that's not our community. Our community is restaurant. How do we serve that community? Well, why don't we try to create content that is educational and inspiring for that community? And that's where this comes in. And what you said, Pat, is really meaningful because there's so many people that tell me, dude, your podcast is like therapy. Like I'm in the weeds and I'm putting out fires all day. And I'm like, am I the only one? Like, why am I like, this is insane. What am I doing wrong? And then I listen to the podcast. I'm like, well, everybody else is dealing with the same stuff. And if that's what it does for, man, that's awesome.
1,000%. It was therapeutic in a way. It's good to feel not that other people are having problems, but you're not alone.
You're not alone.
And listen to people that aren't even in Chicago area, right? You're interviewing people all over the country. We all kind of got the same challenges that we're sifting through. And it's just helpful to hear that other people are trying to figure out the things that you're trying to figure out too.
Well, look, I mean, at a macro level, the consumers tightening they're having to tap out. And I mean, you're having to slow down. I mean, everything's so expensive. It's harder to go out as much. People are drinking less alcohol. Meanwhile, labor costs keep going up. For a lot of it's for regulatory reasons in a lot of places, but labor costs keep going up. Food costs keep going up, which means margins keep thinning out. And look, I mean, it's hard. There was the challenge, and then you're competing against, extremely well-funded chains and all this stuff that, can weather a slowing economy or, adapt to this stuff. So it is hard. I think that COVID at least finally gave people a little bit of a taste of how much they probably just didn't think about how much they care about their local independent restaurants, because when they were shut down, people were like, whoa, that's not cool. Like, I love that place. So it's a little bit more on their mind now, but money was like free for a decade and a lot of restaurants open. And then we're seeing like, I mean, just anecdotally, but I mean, it just seems to me like when we lose customers now, most of the time they're closing their doors. And that seems to be, we don't measure this stuff like, but I see the cancellation requests come in and like the reasons, and a lot of them are like, yeah, we're shutting down or whatever. So, it's going to be an interesting next few years.
Yeah, it's going to be a big storm to weather. And like all the challenges you outlined at the beginning of that, the labor costs, the margins thinning, the changing economy, you know, what do you do? And sometimes you're insulated and you're not sure. So you can listen to a podcast like this. You can start seeking out other people that are in your shoes. And I found that to be really helpful because you never know when you're going to find another idea. Oh man, I didn't think about that. That's another way I can adapt this into my business. Cause I mean, I do the business because I love it. Not because I thought all these challenges were going to be part of my everyday life. So how do you get through it so you still love it? You got to find ideas and different things to implement.
Well, that brings up a good point, because you probably noticed, listening to some of these episodes, This is kind of like free flow, right? Like we just kind of take it wherever it goes. But the one thing I always ask, I was so excited about you mentioning having listened that I forgot to start with the thing I always ask is like, where does your story start? How did you get into this in the first place?
Well, when I graduated college, I went into the finance field and I flunked out of that pretty quickly. I got fired from a job you can't even get fired from, really.
That's freaking hilarious.
I was selling insurance for a big national company, and boss called me into his office one day and basically said, "Hey, do you want to be here anymore?" And I said, "No, I don't." And he's like, "All right, man, I got to let you go." And I'm like, "Hey, man, I didn't even think you could get fired from here because it's all commission based." And he's like, "Well, yeah, I just fired you." I'm like, "Okay."
Dude, that's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, it was wild, and you know, things obviously weren't going well for me. I wasn't making many commissions, so I was working at a restaurant on the weekends and at nights just to pick up cash. So I was working at the first restaurant I ever wound up buying, which is called Candlelight, which is in the Chicago area, very well known for tavern style thin crust. But I started working there. Just I was doing delivery shifts, bartending shifts, serving shifts. Um, there was no intent behind me being in the hospitality field. I mean, I just thought, hey, I'll grab some extra cash, right? And then I get fired, and I figure, all right, well, I'll just go full time because I need to make some money to pay my bills, right? And I thought, I'm in a lot of debt. I'll work, I'll deliver, I'll bartend, I'll serve, I'll get myself out of debt, and then I'll figure out my next move when I can. Um, and then I fell in love with the business. I love the people interaction. I love creating that experience for people where they feel like, man, that was worth it. You know, the money that they spent in the restaurant, it was worth it because I had a great time with my server, my bartender. I had good food, I had good drinks, and man, there was just something about it that I was infatuated by. All the people interaction and all the fun that you could have, right? Um, and so it's I get like maybe a year or so into being full time because you know my plan was right. Hey, I'm just going to make some money and I'll figure out my next move.
Yeah.
Um, but I fell in love with it. I didn't want to leave the business. I was living it every day, and I went to the owners at that time and said, you know, I want to own part of this. I'm putting my blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. And at that time, there was, I think, four partners. One was involved in the business, still is to this day with me. He's been a good mentor for me. And the other three weren't. So I went to the partner that was involved and I said, "Hey, I want to own part of this thing. Let's figure this out." Well, he told me I had to go find the money, right? Hey, you need to come up with some cash to buy one of my partners out. And I didn't have any cash. And certainly there weren't many banks lining up to lend somebody money to buy part of a restaurant. Like,
Right.
number one, high default rate, right? Number two, they never want to lend it for a partial buyout. You know, I know this now down the road, but at the time I figured, hey, I can just go get a bank loan. So the credit cards I had just paid off by bartending, serving, and delivering, I thought to myself, well, I mean, I could just go buy this restaurant on credit because I don't know how I'm going to be able to figure out how to get the money otherwise. So that's what I did. I bought my first restaurant on a credit card. Um,
Would you take like a cash advance or something?
Basically, yeah. I mean, just took a cash advance, paid, you know, 32% or whatever the interest rate was at that time. Uh, but my bills were low at that point, Will. I said to myself, hey, I can pay this off quickly. And I just didn't see another path at that point, and it's what I wanted. So
Yeah.
the finance guy in me, it was horrible math, you know. I mean, most people from the outside looking in would have said, what are you doing?" But it's what I wanted, and it was a way to get it done.
You know, you ki I'm suspecting that you felt like you had no choice. Like, not that you had no choice, like, for financial reasons, but that you had no choice for emotional reasons. Like, when you're doing something like that, you're like, I can't explain it. Nobody else is gonna understand it, but I know intuitively I have to do this. Is that pretty much how you felt?
100%.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like an entrepreneur mentality and can be a pitfall too, right? I mean,
Yep.
there were probably a bunch of different ways I could have handled it better from a mathematics standpoint, but it's what I wanted and it worked and you just had that passion and you go for it. Um, and fortunately for me, it did work out in the long run, but it was super risky at that time.
You know, there's something about that it I kinda feel like it's the same thing with being a restaurant owner. Like, you kinda have to have that DNA as a restaurant owner because it's a hard industry. But there's just something in you where you just like the rewards, outweigh all the hard work, and it can be so rewarding. It can be rewarding financially. It can be hard financially. It can be very rewarding emotionally as a somebody who wants to provide a great experience to members of the community and to mentor young people and all this kind of stuff. I feel like it's the same with an entrepreneur. It's like if if you can't imagine doing anything else than owning a business or starting it, like you kind of just have to do it. But if you just think like, oh, that might be cool, you probably shouldn't do it. And it's the same with restaurants. Like if you're just like, that seems cool. Um, Look at that guy. Look at that gal. They own the restaurant. They're talking to customers and buying drink. And as one of our, as Scott Maitland said to me, he was probably one of the first people ever on this podcast. But he said, people see me at the end of the bar buying drinks and they think that's what it's like to be a restaurant owner. He goes, like, that's like 1/10 of 1% of my time. He's like, come look at me when I'm, moving food from a freezer at 3 a.m. and because the freezer went out, or, when a cook quits mid shift or when the toilet's clogged up. He's like, that's a restaurant owner right there. And,
But yeah,
you
I mean,
don't have that in you. Like, it's hard. I mean, if you don't have entrepreneurship in you, it's really freaking hard. For sure. It's not for everybody.
I always say like restaurants are problem making machines. I mean, you set yourself up for success, but you just can't control everything. And you're spot on. I mean, people from the outside looking in, even my friends to this day, oh man, you got it made, right? They only see the sexy part, right? Will and his buddies are in, and I'm buying them around the shots, and it's fun, and yeah, that part's great, but that's like maybe 5% of it. There's this other 95% of it that's hard, and the toilet's busted, and the oven went down, and you thought you did everything you could to set yourself up for success that day, and a curveball comes your way and you got to operate. A lot of restaurants, right? You can't shut down for a day or a couple days or a few days. It could kill you, you know? So you got to figure it out. And yeah, you got to have thick skin. I kind of just say like, you got to be, I'm stealing it from somebody else, but you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I mean, that's just not a restaurant owner thing, but just an entrepreneur thing, right? Like with you and other people. Got to be comfortable being uncomfortable because it's going to be uncomfortable a lot.
It is. But you know what, man? First of all, I mean, the origin story of I got fired from a commission only insurance job is like probably now my number one favorite origin story I've ever heard on this podcast. Dude, that's freaking hilarious. It's so freaking funny. I love that story. You know, the um the business, the restaurant business it's always been a challenging business, and it just goes through different waves of different types of challenges. The industry continues to evolve and improve, but at the expense of like individual restaurants that, that don't make it. Now, a lot of those are people that see you in there. They're like, this looks cool and I make good, I'm a good cook. Like, I'll go start a restaurant. Like, that's the last thing. Like, don't do that. Like, I think a lot of people get into this business. They have no idea
Right. They're
really
like,
behind it.
how hard could it be, right?
How hard could it be? How hard could it be? The misconception, the gap between like what the average person thinks it's like to own a restaurant and what it's really like is pretty significant. But so you, it's interesting, man. So I also love the fact that you took a cash advance on a credit card. Like, but that's when you're like, I got to do this and I'll figure this out. And my family thinks I'm crazy. My friends say, I've been through this. When I left Bank of America as a young man. I had a good job and helped start a different company in a different industry. And everybody in my family was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I can't explain this to you, but I cannot do this corporate America thing. Like, it doesn't work for me. It's crushing my soul. And some people are like, get over it. Like, good job, good paycheck, benefits, and all that kind of stuff. But I tell you, look, man, as hard as it is right now with restaurants, Pat, the flip side of this coin is there's a lot of people that may have stayed in finance and now they've been in it for 10, 15, 20 years. And I mean, just before we got on this podcast, I was reading this clip about Brian Moynihan at Bank of America talking about, yeah, we've gone from 300,000 employees to 215, but we got to keep ratcheting that number down. Those are jobs, like those are real jobs, and people are losing those jobs and they're not coming back. And AI is replacing a lot of stuff. And there's also a lot of people graduating college right now with student loan debt and expensive degrees and no real job opportunities. So I actually am very curious over the next couple of years if the restaurant industry doesn't benefit in a weird way from that, in that people get out of college and like, well, I got this loan. I can't get this white collar job in corporate America I was hoping for or whatever. I got to go start working in a restaurant. I mean, maybe that's good because maybe that increases the level of quality of the, folks that, are like, maybe there's more applicants for those jobs, which means you
Right.
can be more selective because part of what you have to do is you got to find people that care, right? Like you can, you can teach somebody how to serve drinks or wait tables or whatever, but you can't teach people how to care. And I think we're like at an all-time low in our culture and in our economy about like for caring, and finding people that care to do what you need them to do.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's a struggle, I think, because so much is changing, and I think the employee that comes on board versus the employee that came on board 15 years ago is really different. Um, they, if you can't give them enough why, like why am I doing this? They just don't care. It's just a different mentality. Whereas before, I think people would say, well, even if I don't care, my mom and dad, they taught me that I should always work hard, even if I don't like my job, right? That's just not really much of the mentality anymore, at least in my opinion. Um, so you got to cultivate a culture that people enjoy, because your people. I mean, all the restaurants I have, we're full service, except for one of them that's carry out delivery only. So the people and the way they're interacting with the guests, I mean that's key. I mean, I know you know the restaurant world. I mean, you can have good food, good atmosphere, good drinks, all that stuff. They come in and they have a bad service experience. And especially now when people are really looking at their wallets, you know, why am I going to go back to that place? You know, I just dropped $100 on my family and the service was like, just kind
Yep.
of okay, right?
Yep.
Like, you got to have a compelling server, bartender, and that's got to be your staff. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough road for you.
No doubt about it. I mean, you have to execute now. I mean, we're all feeling it, right? Like I got a family of 5 and, my kids two of them are in college. Everybody's home this summer. We go out and eat. It's like, holy crap. It better
Right.
be yours. Like,
you're
So
dropping a lot of money. That's a big family to take out, right?
it
And
is.
if the experience is kind of so, I mean, well, you're probably forgiving like I am, but
Yeah.
you kind of look at it and you're like, man, I just spent a lot of money. I think people are looking at the value proposition much more than they used to when they would go out and there wasn't like menu inflation like there is now. It's just people are taking a harder look at what they're buying.
They're taking, you have to. I mean, you have to because things are so much more expensive now. Um, so tell me about what's going on. I mean, I haven't talked to anybody. It's been a while since I've talked to any owners in Chicago. What's going on in
Okay.
Chicago right now?
Chicago's a great town. I think, you referred to COVID. I mean, COVID, I think similar to a lot of other municipalities, really changed the landscape of how we operate. But Chicago in the summer, man, there's not a better place out there. We're on the lakefront. People are happier. Kids are out of school. Business tends to be higher. But the political climate or I shouldn't say political climate, the regulations that are put on you in Chicago are about as hard as they get. Probably not as hard as California and New York and some other areas, but it's tough. It's a lot of regulation, a lot of red tape. And these are kind of the not so fun parts of the business that you have to address and figure out how to maneuver. So, a lot of good things to say, a lot of challenging things to say too. But overall, Chicago, it's fun, man. It's a great town.
Is that where you're from?
I'm from Evanston, which is first suburb north of Chicago. So basically from Chicago area. And that's where my restaurants are, right where I'm from. So I'm back to where it all started.
Uh, so okay, good deal. What when you think about where we are now and what's going on now, there are a lot of challenges. A lot of challenges that are outside of your control. What are the things you guys think about that are, give you that you're excited about or positive about?
You know, uh, I mean, one good thing we have going on, something that started in COVID, um, when COVID first started, I took our pizza Candlelight. It's this tavern style thin crust pizza, and created a frozen product for it. Something we always wanted to do in the restaurant, and the bigger companies in Chicago do that, a frozen pizza, so you can mimic the at home experience in the restaurant. Uh, so created that with the staff because it was kind of, we went swiftly in Chicago to no dine in. So it's like, hey, what am I going to do with all our employees? The choice was kind of like, well, you can lay them off, which didn't feel good, or we can make a pivot. So made the pivot and took the staff and we developed this frozen pizza product. Fast forward a few years later, after starting like a direct to consumer site, and we started selling to bars and limited service restaurants out there, um, for them to resell the product. Um, that business is really grown, and it's brought a lot of attention to the brick and mortar units that I have. So it's really helped us
Good.
get our name out there more. And it's also another product to sell, and it makes life a little easier when you have another revenue stream uh, to adapt to. So, for on the restaurant side of things, technology is kind of like a good and bad thing, in my opinion. I think there's some good things that can help you put out a better product. I think I get real torn about the restaurants that have now pivoted to either no service with waiters and bartenders or some sort of hybrid in between full service and no service. I just can't do it, man. I can't do it. Our restaurants were built on people coming in and having a good experience and interacting with the bartender and the waiter and whoever it is. So it's just I'm excited for some of the technology components. I'm not excited about some of it. I think the industry is going to change, and everyone's just kind of got to keep their eye on the ball. I mean, that's kind of what I'm excited about. I think the economic pressures are they're going to lighten over time, and those of us that have keep grinding it out, I think are going to reap the benefits.
Agree on so many fronts with what you just said, Pat. Keep doing what you're doing. People are craving experience. They're craving intention. They're craving authenticity. Um, we AI and all this tech, it has its place and it's good, but the more we're inundated with it and surrounded by it, the more we really appreciate meaningful human to human connection and interaction. I believe that to my core because we're human beings and we're never going to not want that. I think my theory is that 5 years from now, and you're there in Chicago, so we'll take McDonald's, but I mean, I use McDonald's anyway. Like McDonald's probably won't have employees. I mean, they may have like in my mind, there's going to be like one dude who's like walking around tending to the equipment, the
Definitely.
machine.
Yeah.
It's a technical, like an engineer. But that screens and technology will cook the food and order and everything. And then that's like one end of the barbell, like one polar end. And then the other side of it is like, and when you need something fast or you're moving and whatever, cool, great. I want it fast and cheap, whatever. But the other side of that is that barbell always has to have a balance, right? And the other side of that barbell is the really old school, thoughtful, very intentional customer service focused experience in a restaurant where you take your family and you put down your screens and you interact with people that you care about, your friends or your family or your loved ones, and you're served by people that care. And there may be like that's just not going to go away. And I do think that people are the less of that we have, the more of that we crave, and people are starting to realize that more and more. I really, really, really believe that.
I think that's where those of us still doing full service are going to reap the benefits. I think it's probably hard to look at it that way now, but I agree with you in that people are craving it. And I think there's going to be a pent up demand for it over time, so I think that's the positive thing about, where things are in the restaurant business. Right. But there's always some tech company that's going to come in and say, well, this is how you fix the margins, right? You just have less people and you're more efficient, et cetera, et cetera. And, I think a good majority of those are going to fail. I think some may succeed, but I think people are still going to crave that going out experience. Like, I totally agree with you.
There's you have to you, rely on your instincts and your intuition with this stuff, Pat. I think because you're right. There's people that manage businesses off of like numbers on a spreadsheet. I call them spreadheads. Like if the spreadsheet says do this, then do that. Um, Big corporations manage that way. Oh, the spreadsheet says we need to cut 10% of our workforce, so go do that. But what the spreadheads don't understand is like the things that are not measurable that make a business special, and that's people and the interactions those people have with their teammates and the interactions those people have with their customers and the care that they and thoughtfulness they put into it, which you can't measure, but you just know matters when you do something like what you do. And I, I, I think that tech has its place. I mean, we have a technology, but I say, look, like if you can get away with not using it, then don't. Like, don't use it until it's a headache and you have to solve it, right? Because there's a lot of technology that's been brought into the restaurant technology that's been brought in the market over the last decade. I mean, money was free. Like, if you had an idea, you could go get a bunch of finance people to give you money. I mean, talk about like the difference between trying to get a loan to buy out part of a restaurant versus, hey, I've got this cool idea for restaurants and I've never worked in a restaurant, but this is what they should do. And then you go get a bunch of venture capital people that have access to massive amounts of basically free money when rates were zero. They're like, yeah, that sounds good. And then you wind up with this flashy restaurant tech that, is getting jammed down people's throats that yeah, sure, it sounds great, but I had a restaurant owner tell me this and I just thought it was hilarious. He goes, you would not believe how many restaurant tech people try to sell me something, but the restaurant tech people have never worked in restaurants and the people that finance them have never worked in restaurants. And he's like, they just don't get it. And they think I'm stupid for not wanting their stuff. And I'm like, that's not what we need. That's not what we do. But there's
Right.
a lot of that out there right now.
Oh yeah, 100%. You getting the door knocked on every day, and man, you're just reminding me of like when I first heard of Schedule Fly. I think I shared this story with you. You're like, hey, like just buy it if you need it, right? And I appreciate like the very transparent sales approach. I mean, I remember sitting there banging my head against the wall, filling out an Excel sheet and trying to figure out like who said they couldn't work when and all these different things, right? And I got lucky. One of our bartenders was like, "Hey man, I used to work at this place. They use this company called Schedulefly, man, and I every week I see you do the schedule and I see you pulling your hair out, man. I think this thing might solve what you're trying to figure out." And so there it is, right? I went in, figured
Yeah.
it out, and I'm like, well, this is great. I mean, just solving a headache, but that it was made for restaurant people, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's that's kind of your overwhelming point. These people from the outside of the industry, they see how difficult it is, and they think, okay, well, if there's a problem and I fix it, I'll make a ton of money, right? But then they don't put the thought in. They don't talk to people like me, people like you. They don't really figure out what the real issue is.
Yeah.
So they try and solve a problem that a lot of times you're like, it doesn't really exist. I mean, you think it's a problem, but I don't think it's a problem. You know?
Yep. 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 Amen. There is we like, I like to get to know other restaurant, um, service providers, tech providers that that were born from a restaurant person who had a problem. I mean, that's what Schedulefly was like.
Right.
Wes used to write the schedule in a restaurant, like you said, at 3 hours every Sunday on Excel, looking at sticky notes that said, I don't want to work Tuesday with no name on it. And just stuff like that. Like, how do you piece that together? And then you post the schedule and then immediately it starts to change because people are like, oh no, I didn't want to work then, whatever. So it was born from just solving a real problem. There's a company called Check This Out. I really like these guys. The restaurant owner out in Bozeman, Montana during COVID, he's like, I got to get butts in seats. And he developed this for his own restaurant. He developed this text-based, system where you sign your guest up and you can just, hey, here's what, boom, send them a text. Here's what we got going on tonight. Here's our specials. Just simple, right?
Right.
Worked. Like he started getting a lot more people coming in because people read like 98% of all texts get read. Could not be more simple. But like that's one, like if you want to, Nicholas Wicks is the guy that started that. He's like, wait a minute, this is working for our restaurant. I wonder if it will work for some of my peers. They
Right.
started using. He's like, I think I got a business here. So he started this business. It's called Check This Out. It's real simple. It's real easy. It works. It's cool. Um, does its thing. And just kind of started it, from the ground up. Didn't go like, I think this would work and I'm going to go raise $10 million at this big valuation. It's like, I like stuff like that a lot.
That's the best stuff in business where you're like, hey, it was like maybe in his head, he was like, this is a problem or this is an opportunity and I'll solve it and I'll fine tune it, fine tune it, fine tune it. And then realize, oh man, I think other people could use this. versus going in reverse where you're like, well, I'm going to raise the money and here's the idea. But you don't even know if the idea is going to work. It's like he spent the time to go figure it out, make it work, and then go sell it.
Yep.
Uh, and that's like, just like selfish side on me. That's what's happened with our frozen pizza business was bars and tap rooms like around Chicago and outside Chicago across the country started realizing, yeah, I just had a guy say, hey, I don't have a food offering. Like, could you sell me your pizza and I'll sell them to my customers? And I'm kind of thinking to myself, gosh, why didn't I think of this?
Yeah.
So sure, show up, we dialed it in, get them the equipment and everything, and they resell our pizza. And I only bring that up because it was never my intent to get in the wholesale line. I always thought our frozen pizza product would be like just a direct to consumer thing, right? And it is. But this wholesale thing just kind of came up organically. And it wasn't like at the beginning, I was like, all right, here's what we're going to do, Will. We're going to take this product and go market it, across the country to all these different bars, restaurants, and tap rooms. Like, nah, it just happened, you know? And sometimes those are the best ideas.
Well, that's awesome. And that's really cool that you have that there locally. And it's like, oh, this is from Candlelight. I've heard of that place. We should go eat there sometime. Well, I would think bars and tap rooms need that right now. I mean, gosh, and breweries, like, whoo, if you're just serving beer and not no food component, you're struggling right now. They are closing left and right, with any kind of food option. So, are y'all seeing that up there? I mean, I'm seeing that like nationally, like a lot of breweries that don't have food or not doing well.
Yeah, I think like a few years ago when craft beer was all the crazy. It's interesting because I know about this world now because I'm selling into it, right? Like their sales are really generally tap room breweries just dropping significantly. And so what's a pivot you can make? And food is a pivot you can make. And some of them do full kitchens, which I'm like, hey, God bless you, but that's the world I'm in, and it's tough. Or you can do the limited service offering where there's either us, where it's like we just give you a simple oven setup and a pizza, and then you don't lose your guest, right? You get them to buy another beer. You also make money on the pizza. And then you see them sell other things too, bar snacks and other creative stuff, food trucks popping up, and it's cool, man. It's just a different pivot that all those guys have to make. I mean, restaurant guys think they got it hard. Try owning a brewery right now. I mean, it's tough.
It is tough. Well, they're facing a lot of headwinds with just consumer appetite for alcohol, which is decreasing, and
Right.
eating shrooms and gummies and staying home a lot of times instead of. I mean, that's an issue for. I mean, there's so many weird things happening. It's like people are staying home more because they don't go out, and and people aren't drinking as much, and then you got all these people on these whatever those I can't remember. LP1, whatever these things are that suppress your appetite so you lose weight, then like you don't want
Yeah.
to eat as much either. But these are just things that happen and they kind of come and go. I mean, your point is you play the long game, you focus on the things you can control, which is how do we take care of our guests and do we execute every day on, what's happening inside our four walls and then do we have creative ways that we can, find other revenue streams and these challenging cycles come and then they go, and it's always been the case. I mean, internet boom and bust in 1999, 2000, the housing crisis, COVID. It's like it's always something. uh, for some period of time, it's always something, and then things. But you can't think about like thing is, it's like you you have to kind of trust. Sometimes I think that you just got to get up every day and do what you're doing and have the confidence that and the open eyes to be creative and find opportunities like frozen wholesale pizzas. Like that wasn't part of your long-term plan, but here you are.
Right. Right. Totally. I mean, you just kind of keep grinding, right? And sometimes good opportunities play out for you, and you don't even think you know, that it's ever going to happen. But until we get to the other side of the economic crunch, you got to keep trying stuff. in the restaurant, outside the restaurant, get creative and build, build as much as you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you, do y'all like, how is your, I should have done this. I didn't, but how is your social media presence? Like, do you put much emphasis on social media?
We have more recently. It was a little bit more of an afterthought for us for a while. Um, but I think like you and I are talking about the consumers now that they don't drink that much, they're at home a lot, they don't go out. Like, how are you going to market to them? I mean, they're all on their phones, or most of them. And I was fortunate for a while that just had a restaurant and a restaurant group where people knew us for a while, but this new clientele that's getting older, how do you get to them? And I think social media is the way to do it, and the texting too. Like that's a cool company you told me about. Didn't know about that guy, but anything that's targeting to somebody's phone, I think is going to be a big impact. So we put a lot of emphasis on it now. We hadn't always. But I think it's going to be really important for us moving forward.
I will, if you want, just it's their website is checkthisout.io, I believe. If you want to check it out, and you're like, yeah, this looks interesting, I'll put you in touch with Nicholas. He's a great dude. They're like us. He's not like they don't have like aggressive salespeople and all that kind of stuff. It's like he'll tell you a story and what they do. The I would encourage you to lean into social media. I think that, and I'm trying to do this myself. I really want to start sharing our story. I think that people like stories and they like to feel connected to something. And the more you share your story and what's going on and what y'all are working on, like that's how you get people engaged with like more than just, it's an emotional attachment to a brand. And like, I mean, since you're a kid, you're, like, mom, dad, tell me a story. Like we like stories, and sharing that story, I think, is important. And I think that I see restaurants and restaurant owners that are really leaning into sharing that story to good effect. So I would, you know, I don't have a case of the you shoulds, like you should do this, because I don't know. I don't own a restaurant, but I will say that I am seeing more restaurant people that are doing that and getting good results from it.
Yeah, and I think you're like the authenticity of your story. Like I've always been a believer. Like people want to like you, right?
Yes.
Like that's why I like the Schedule Fly story. Like seeing on the website how it got built and all that. Like you want to like who you're buying from.
Yes.
So I think that's important with social media. Like we started doing things where we feature the staff, right? Like
Amen. Yes.
we have a big summer staff, right? So, and we do a lot of like hiring young people and developing them, but people want to know that, right? They think it's cool. Oh, this is great. I didn't know about Steve over here, and he goes to school at Wisconsin, and this is what he's majoring in, and that stuff's been really impactful. Like people want to know. Kind of goes back to what you were talking about before, like people wanna know and have a good experience in the restaurant, like, they wanna care. Like, give me a reason to care and come into your restaurant and spend money,
Yes.
and that's a way to do
Yes.
it if they know the people and they know they're supporting those people, right? Not just me, but they're helping feed those people and give them an income.
Yep. Absolutely. I'm glad y'all are doing that. Keep doing it. It helps. It works. Gets people engaged. They want to, because then they feel like they're sort of like part of the story. Like they want to attach themselves to something. They feel like, okay, I know these people. Like I like these people. And, because you want repeat guests, right? Like, I mean, it's one thing to get somebody in once because they saw, but what you want is the repeat guests. But if you get them interested enough to come in the first time, then, you have that opportunity to earn them and, um, have them keep coming back. Do you, I'm wondering if I'm going to start talking about this on every episode. I recorded an episode earlier today and I talked about these folks, but there's a company called Food Service IQ, that is helping restaurants save an average of 5 to 7% on their food costs They're negotiating with manufacturers. They have a very innovative platform. Uh, foodserviceiq.com. Check them out, Pat. If you want to meet those guys, I know them. I was like, when I first talked to them, I'm like, I don't get this. Like, what am I missing here? So I had some restaurant owners that I know talk to them. And so I was like, tell me what I'm missing. Like, is this just like real? And they've come back and they've been, dude, this is freaking awesome. And we signed up. Like, so
Huh?
I got the validation I was looking for. So I think we're going to start kind of promoting them. You know, we're, one of the things that's interesting that you were talking about this at the beginning of the episode, and I forgot to mention this, but I'll say it now, is that we had something years ago called the network. And, I mean, like years ago, like 2007 to like 2009 or 10. But when you logged into Schedulefly as an admin user, there was on the desktop version, there was a tab called network. And when you click that, you'd be in a forum with all of the other Schedulefly customers across the country. And it was like a user generated content, like Reddit, right? So you
Right.
go in and you're like, hey, I own these restaurants in Chicago, and here's this problem I'm trying to like figure out right now. Like, does anybody have any advice or any ideas? And maybe you get a good idea from a restaurant owner in, you know, Denver, Colorado, or Atlanta, Georgia, or something like that. So it was this way for everybody to connect, because y'all are so focused and heads down all the time. It's hard to like know, like, what are other people doing in restaurants, such a fragmented market. So we had this thing and we took it down, and I feel like that was a mistake. And so we're going to put that back in. And I'm pretty excited about it because I think it's a great way for our customers to help each other as part of this Schedulefly community. And then what I'm trying to do now is like highly vet and curate a really small list of other restaurant service providers that we believe the product is really good and the service that comes with it is really good, which is so important, right? But that we'll probably use that as a way to like advertise or promote, you know, those companies. And so I think we're going to bring that back. And we may try, like, my goal is like, I'd like to figure out a way to open it to even people that are not on Schedulefly. Like, you don't have to be on Schedulefly to be, you know, I think I'm going to call it the Fly Club, right? But like, hey, if you're not on Schedulefly, maybe for $10 a month or something like that, you can be a member of this and, you know, be a part of this community and help each other. And maybe we have like service providers that give you a discount or something. Cause I don't know, just like we're thinking through that now, but would you, I'm saying that because I don't want to be guilty of what we just talked about going, oh, this is what restaurant owners need. Let's just do it. Like, would you like something like that? Would that help you?
I'm a big believer in talking to other people in the business. It's something I've been doing over the last year, so I'd be all over something like that because you just never know when somebody food service IQ, that is like, okay, that is so top of mind for me, right? Like if we were using that as the forum example, I'm like, I want to check it out right away. I want to check it out. And if it's something that I implement and it makes impact right away, wow. Like we didn't really spend that much time talking about that, right? Just a couple minutes. And I am on other like blogs and stuff like that because I think you just never know. You never know who's going to come up with an idea that works for you and makes a really big impact on your business. So I think that stuff is how the independent guys like me and you and the other guys you talk to, that's how they can succeed is
Yep.
just listening to each other. And it's so hard because you're caught up in the minutia. But if you just make a point to make sure daily or once a week or whatever it is, I'm going to check this forum. I'm going to check this out. Maybe I'll get an idea that I can implement into my business. Can make a big difference.
Amen. Okay. So you're okay. I mean, I haven't asked anybody yet that hasn't agreed. Like, yes, that would be a good thing to have. Like, so I think we're going to do it. I mean, I think it's like, it's a no brainer. And, you know, cause we're trying to, I mean, I love I want independent restaurants to thrive. I don't care if Chili's does well. I couldn't give does not matter one bit to me. I don't want to serve them. Don't want to have them as a customer. Not who we care about. Nothing against them, but I care about independent restaurants. I think independent restaurants are the heartbeat of any great community. You cannot, there's not one city or town that if you say that's a great place, why is that a great place? You will get to independent restaurants within your top 5 reasons every single time. Like, there's no city or town where everybody's like, man, that place is awesome. Why is it awesome? I guarantee you, part of it, a big part, is because they have freaking badass, awesome independent restaurants that are doing cool things that take care of their community and love their community, and that's part of what makes that community great every time.
Totally. They're never saying, "Oh, they got a great Chili's on the corner downtown."
Ooh, they got fast food on every corner. No, exactly. It's
It's
quite
like, "Hey,
the
this is
opposite,
this
right? Like,
yeah, this is this great place over here. You gotta try it. I love this. Ask for this bartender. He's really cool." You know, that should be the answer.
speaking of that, do you got like 5 more minutes? Because
Yeah.
I want to respect your time. I had this idea. Um, I'm curious if this would be a good thing or a bad thing from your perspective. But let's say, okay, so let's say your bartender could opt to collect his or her regular customers' cell phone numbers and put them into a database. And then, and these would be like handpicked. Like, I know this person, I want to get their number, because they're in here all the time and I like them, and maybe it's even a friend or whatever. But like, what if you had the ability as a bartender, for your regular customers to know your schedule, to know when you're working, so that, oh, Will's at the bar tonight, I'm going in because I like that. Is that, as an owner, do you like that idea, or do you not want anything to do with that idea?
I think
Not two-way, not like two-way text, and like the customer doesn't have the bartender. So this would be like, in other words, like if Schedulefly enabled a bartender to load numbers in there, and then like those people could get a text of Will's working tonight from 7 to 11 or whatever.
I mean, I think it's a cool idea. I think my only hesitation on it is, well, and I guess you would figure this out, is the bartender comfortable with that, right? Like, do they wanna know? I mean, I think
It'd
most
be
of them
opt-in.
do. What's that?
It'd be opt-in. Like,
Oh,
it
opt
would be
in.
something where we go, hey, if you as a bartender or as a server, like if you want to use this through Schedulefly, you can, and you get to pick whose numbers you collect, and you can take somebody off a list anytime. Like, I mean, I worry a little bit about, it'd have to be all self-select, right? Because you don't want somebody to have their schedule spit out there when they don't want their schedule spit out there. And I worry a little bit about people knowing somebody's schedule, which means they're at work and they're not at home, and therefore, like, you could rob them. But I mean, I always think about this
Yeah,
like, yeah, but this is like you doing this, you opting in as a bartender or server, and you're only doing this with the people you decide get to have that information. Like,
right,
yeah, it
right,
might be 15 people, or what. It's like you hand pick them.
right, right. I mean, yeah, I think it's a really cool idea. My reasons for pause are probably similar to yours. It's like I don't know. It's new and different, and will people be comfortable with it? I, I don't know. I know when Will's working, he ain't gonna be home. If I want to mess with him, I guess that we're playing the devil's advocate on what the pitfalls could be of that scenario. But removing the pitfalls, it's cool. I think that's what people are missing. They're missing the people interaction,
Yep.
people, they love to say, yeah, and I like this food, and Will's an awesome bartender. I think he works on Thursday and Friday versus what you're proposing. Actually, I can find out when Will's working. I can look this up right here. Um, that's part of what people are buying, right? Is their interaction with the bartender and the server. And
Yep.
for some people, it could be Yeah, I'm thinking of some regulars I have on Sunday night. I mean, they've told me, "Hey, Pat, I love you." Okay. But Brad, who's our bartender on Sundays, we come here because of him. We love Brad, and he's got this whole following on Sunday night pizza club thing that they have. And it's cool for me. It's kind of like, they're kind of like, "Hey Pat, we love you, but seriously though, we really love Brad." And that's cool.
Yep.
That's awesome. They love Brad and they know when he works, but uh they could for sure know when he works if it was, you know, presented better like you're describing. So that's interesting. You got my mind going into that a little bit.
Yeah, it's
I
just
need to play out, you know?
we've had it on our minds here for a really long time, and I don't know if like we may or may not try to do it at some point or pilot it, but I mean, I just kind of feel like if you're I think it's going to be an 80-20 tool, right? Your top performers are going to be the ones that use it because they understand it and they get the value proposition. But I think that's true. Like I look at restaurants as like, I mean, if you really think about it, here's a place that gives you, if you like, I mean, if you really break it down, like all the products are just there. And you could make your own business within a restaurant, right? Like if you're really good at what you should be courting regulars and having people know and like it's all the products are right there. You don't even have to buy those products. All you got to do is be really good at selling those products and building relationships. And like you're saying, like Sunday Night Pizza Club, like you can have your own things within the restaurant that your regular guests know, like, oh, when Will's working or when, Sarah's working, like it's awesome. And she does these, like, you can do that in a restaurant if you're really good at it. Like you can build your own following and create your own brand within that brand. And everybody wins if you're doing that.
Totally, yeah, and, like, thinking back, like, I was a bartender for so long, So,
Yep.
like, that was part of what you were trying to do all the time was, like, build your following, right? I mean, the restaurant's getting more business, you're making more of an income, and it's fun, and people wanna hang out and be a part of that.
Yep.
Uh, it's it's cool, man, and the more and more the business can be focused on that, the consumer experience, the better and better it's gonna be.
Yep. Amen. Okay. Well, I'm glad. Like I bring that up always with caution because I'm like, this isn't an example of solving our own problem. This is like, this seems like this would work, but I've seen enough people tell restaurateurs, this is what you should do. This is what I don't ever want to be guilty of that. So it's good for feedback. We'll probably get to a point where we'll like build that out and let like some small number of restaurants like pilot it, right? Like,
Was
you
gonna
know,
say just pilot it, right? And I'm sure that kinda will tell you over some period of time, what you need to fix and, "Yeah, this thing works," and
yep,
piloting, it's just like specialing food at a restaurant. It's the same thing, right? I mean,
try it and see. Yeah.
put the dish out there, and if people are buying it left and right, well, you got your answer, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether I like it or not. The consumer doesn't, so oh well.
I
Okay. Well, good, man. Dude, I really appreciate this, Pat. This has been great. And
appreciate you inviting me on, man. It's fun, man. So it's therapeutic to talk about yourself a little bit, and so it's
amen.
been nice, man.
Well, um, for those of you listening, I'm going to keep doing this. Hopefully, every episode, just give us a rating. You give us a rating, Pat. Go rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Just go give us like a 5-star rating. Put a comment in there because I'm trying to encourage people to do that. We need more ratings. I mean, we are legitimately a top 5 restaurant owner podcast, and we're proud of that. I'd like that to be top 4 or top 3 or top. But the way we get there, part of it is we need more engagement with ratings, just like you need Google reviews and stuff like that, right? Like
Right, right.
ratings because that tells the algorithm, all right, people like this. Let's put it in front of more people. And so I'm trying to be better. I've never really done a good job of asking for these ratings over the years. And when you look at the top rated podcasts, like in this space, like we have way fewer ratings than anybody else, which gives me encouragement that we're still rated so highly, even though we don't have a lot of ratings. So, there you go, folks. Give us a rating, please. And thank you for listening. More episodes coming soon. And that is a wrap. See y'all.